Carol, if you'd like to start.
Okay. Yeah. The purpose of the mastermind is to learn leadership, build teams, and create multiple sources of income together.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
Oops, let me get that up. Better. There we go.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces, one mind, one soul, one love.
Noble Goldman International is a conscious, aware, and engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators.
Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from the time for money paradigm. We focus on creating multiple streams of income through masterminding, team building, and the effective utilization of the internet-based platforms.
The mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery, where the self-transcendent shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time.
Lovely.
I got to read the last
Yes. And you've got such a great reading voice, Julie.
Yeah, you're the ultimate reader.
I
Yeah.
love reading out loud. I really love it. And I think it goes back to the fact that in childhood I never was read aloud to. And I just used to love it, and I would do it in my classrooms too, just to start off a lesson and always get their attention. It was lovely. I think it's a lovely thing reading.
Yeah, it's almost in a hypnotic voice. So I can imagine that would work well in a classroom, sitting them down and reading to them, and then they're like, oh, paying attention.
I did do my NLP hypnotherapy 100 years ago and never practiced it. Well, maybe that's the practice.
Now, I keep coming back to this in a lot of things that I'm talking about, and I might have already mentioned it in this group as well. But every time I'm looking at this page in Think and Grow Rich for Women, there, on page 75, it's Ask Yourself, and it's in Specialised Knowledge. And the questions are, in fact, I think we did it the other week, but I want to do it from a different perspective this time. What natural talents do you have? What topics do people most often ask you questions about? What areas of expertise do you have access to in your contacts? And who is on your team? And I guess we were talking about this in our 30-day quest mastermind as well, who was on your team, and it got very specific as to who is on your Noble Goldman team and who do you want on your Noble Goldman team. But I'm kind of coming to this because Martin asked me to do a video, which, you know, Carly had to do the same thing, and we were both freaking out about doing videos, but we did it. And mine was about helping people get in, working out what they need to do to start a business, whether that be network marketing business or a micro business or a small business, whether it be a shop front, whether it be, you know, something online. Any of those need some certain skills and need some specialised knowledge, I guess. And we can't all do it ourselves. And I know a lot of small businesses want to, or micro businesses, they want to be able to do their own website. They want to do their own marketing. They want to do their own bookkeeping. They want to do their own tax. They want to do everything themselves. And it's daunting, and things will fall off the wagon because you can't do it all yourself. So this is where I think a team is extremely important. It isn't about having people that you like and want to be around all the time. It's about having people with the skills that are, maybe they're going to challenge you as well, because they're not going to think the same way as you. But it's very important to have people with different skills in your mastermind group as well. You know, Napoleon Hill talks all about this, and you know how Henry Ford was all about, he didn't have the knowledge himself, but he made sure that he had people on his team who had the knowledge. So I was hoping we could have a bit of a discussion around that, and maybe get some aha moments about what we think we might need on our team in that perspective, and kind of what we want to do for the rest of the year to help us reach our purpose, our milestone, our burning desire, whatever it is that we're trying to get to, because we've only got 4 months left. 2021.
Cool.
For me, I've found with the trying to do it all yourself sort of thing, that it's more to do with the poverty mindset of, you know, I can't afford to hire anyone to do this stuff, so I've got to do it all myself. So it's not that I want to do it all myself, I just feel like I have to.
So from an accounting perspective, yes, that's very, very, very often the problem, or the first kind of hurdle. And for me, that kind of means that setting a budget is very important. It's working out how much is your time worth, and is it worth you, at whatever rate you're going to set your time at, to be doing the website, when you could pay an expert who could do it a lot quicker, probably maybe charge more than your actual time, but it's still going to be cheaper for you because someone else is doing it, and you can focus on what your skill is.
And they'll probably do a better job.
Yes.
You'd hope so, yes.
Yeah. Expertise,
And that's why I really like the revenue split model, because even with a website, web designer, so I have a similar setup right now in a collaboration that I'm part of, is one of our partners is gifted at media and film, you know, creating films, videos. And so we bring our talents together and we do a revenue split as collaborators going forward, because, you know, half of something is better than 100% of nothing. You're right. And, so, and this is, I can't even believe how timely this is for me, because in specific, I'm realizing now that our collaboration desperately needs a director of sales, because I am the director of course creation, and I have been acting as the director of sales. And our whole product is about staying in alignment with your natural gifts and embracing that, and that's where your real power comes from. So the very fact that I've done this, and it's just, you know, what you're describing has definitely been part of my own journey too as an entrepreneur, is the inclination to do the things that I can do, even though it might be wise for me not to do them, because it end up burning, you know, just burning yourself out, basically, utilizing your precious energies. So, but anyway, I didn't mean to divert too much, but the revenue split model is beautiful. And it also creates a commitment. Like, for instance, if somebody is going to work on your website, how wonderful is it if your website can evolve with your business, right? Rather than hire someone for a few $1,000s and then go, oh, shoot, our model changed a little bit and now I've got to have that person. You know what I'm saying? So And I think this is the wave of the future. And I think this is a big part of how we women are going to be playing such a huge role in this transition, is that we have the natural inclination to collaborate with each other and to, you know, so for, perhaps it's shifting out of that model of my business, I'm, you know, and I can't do anything until I can hire people. I think when you level that playing field, you have that mutual respect, and then you have each of the partners showing up with, you know, everyone having the same level of desire for success.
I love that, Nancy, and it's so on point and so true. And I love that that everyone's being acknowledged for their skills and being rewarded for their skills. And I think that's so important, especially as women. I don't know.
Hierarchy. There's no hierarchy between
Yeah.
skills.
Yes.
You know, sometimes also we can think of the back office folks as being, you know, the employees. Well, no, I mean, I think you just empower everyone to feel just as important as each other.
Yeah, everyone's got a vital role. Absolutely. And I think as women as well, it's something to be careful of. I've fallen into the trap of knowing that I can support people in doing certain skills and doing certain things for them. But unless you have an arrangement in place, or that person is completely integrous, sometimes you'll just be taken advantage of and you won't be acknowledged for what you've done. So I think it's really important to have that agreement up front and to have that understanding. Yeah, beautiful.
Yes.
That's why you were so
Good agreements.
successful, Veronica. Boundaries, isn't it? It's boundaries again.
Yeah, yep. And valuing what
interesting.
we do as well. It's not just, I'm just doing this because, you know, it's just something I do, and not valuing what you do. So other people can't value it if you don't.
I don't know whether this is of any value really, but I'm going to say to you, when I was teaching, my subject was learning diversity, and I had children that were quite seriously challenged and have been labelled all the way through their schooling, and with dyslexia or A spectrum or blah blah blah, auditory processing, blah blah, whatever. And you know, these kids were living their labels because, you know, it gave them a kind of an excuse not to, you know, this is where you talk about boundaries really. Labels really, in the end of the day, were only good for getting funding, you know, from the government to help with special needs as such. But what I focused on right from the start was we would do a whole probably 3 or 4 weeks of discovery of what they were good at. You know, we had mind maps and we had quizzes, and we had all sorts of I had and gradually I would build their trust, you know, and they found their own superpowers or their own talents. You know, one of them might have been fantastic at sport and running or dancing, and the other one was great at math. And often they didn't know their own superpowers, so they would help each other to find them because their friends would know, you know. So we're talking about the same kind of thing. And then once we'd known what their really good skills were, then they could use those to strengthen their weaknesses, but also to collaborate with others so that they could appreciate the others. So this is the magical part of it, is that they began to see themselves, but they also began to see the wonder and talents in other people that they've been probably scorning and, you know, really dissing, as we put it. But, you know, that they were never the same once they knew that they had strength. And that strength was like an acknowledgement of self-love, you know, and off they went with the other subjects and other things that they weren't so strong with, but they could strengthen, you know, or hand over to somebody else and then admit, no, this isn't my area, so I need some help here.
Beautiful.
I just want to thank you, because you've actually just named, that's our product within the workplace. That's a big part of it, is actually, yeah, it's a self-study.
Yeah.
It's actually a coaching process, but done in the way of a self-study, totally private, with improv, and we have interaction too. So we have improv on either end and then a self-study for 3 weeks in the middle. But yes, helping women to reconnect with their natural instincts and inclinations, which we can so undervalue as feeling like they're not the important things, where those are the most important parts
Of
of
course they are. And
Yeah.
that's so embedded, and especially my generation, you know, and the one before me even more so. But yes, well, my passion is young people, you know, secondary kids. You know, just when they've come from sort of primary moving into the secondary, that becomes just so overwhelming, boring, insignificant, and so on, which I actually think a lot of the programs are at schools now.
And
They're
my
just not
passion is
preparing
grown
kids, so,
women.
that's my area of passion. It's also actually Ava's. Ava, you know, I don't know whether any of you have met Ava, but we've worked together with that for years, so that's something we want to do.
I just want to acknowledge Stan, the only man in the room.
Yeah, hi Stan.
I'm not sure if you heard me, but Gary he's just moved to Arkansas today, so he's exhausted and will be not joining us, or today being Tuesday for him. So yeah, that's why I've just become all practical. I'm looking at a different angle. And I was talking about, I know we've spoken about this before, and every time I mention it's kind of a different perspective. And when I mentioned this with our 30-day quest about who's on your team, and we were speaking specifically about who's on our Noble Goldman team, who do we want in our Noble Goldman team, but I wanted to broaden that to say who's in our team for our businesses and even our lives, even with the skills that we don't have, and recognizing people who we may not even like because they're so different to us, but they have the skills we need to include in our business. So who do you need on your business, Stan? You're pretty much a one-man show, really, aren't you? Oh, can't hear you. Can anyone else hear Stan? You're not muted.
How's that? Is that
That's
better?
Yes.
So yes, I'm pretty much a one-man show, but got plenty of coaches and mentors and masterminds to hang out in.
Yeah, cool.
So plenty of people on my team, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Plenty of webinars.
Yeah, and now you've got your content for your course kind of sorted, haven't you?
Yeah, so I did my 6-week, it's kind of an intensive goal setting mindset workshop. And then I'm working on some other stuff as we go. So just figured out how to use some of the PLR stuff really easy, like learned yesterday how to turn it into some stuff into audio and into an infographic in like that much time, and I was like, oh my god, how easy is that?
That's awesome. I'm terrible with that kind of stuff. I'd rather just do like the content, and I'm not interested in polishing it up. So I might need to employ you, Stan, to polish up my own courses.
I don't know anything about polishing, because the PLR stuff, I basically just used what they gave me and I just turned it into an audio. I didn't actually think it was much. I gave the guys in my course some stuff on vision boards, and I just took the first section and turned that into an audio. I just literally read it straight off the sheet, and I didn't even make it. It was just stuff that they gave me. So it was like, oh. I just didn't realize how long it really was. I was kind of more trying it out and thought I'd do something, and then I thought, this is a really long script. It's like 10 pages, so it turned into 22 minutes of audio, but someone didn't want to read all the stuff. They've now got the audio that goes with it.
And what's PLR?
Public label rights.
Oh.
So you basically buy some content that you can then use on your website or give away or do stuff with. So
yeah, but I know you've also done, you know, your PowerPoint presentations and
so I turned my whole course into a PowerPoint
yeah.
stuff. So yeah, from being sometimes you're a one-man band and have to learn all the jobs. And my plan is as I grow, I can farm some of that stuff out.
Nice.
Just do the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So Lisa, what are you're about to start your coaching journey too, or coaching business.
Yeah.
So do you know what you'll be looking for in your team?
I've not really thought about it. I'm also of the, like, I don't have the money to pay people, so I have to do everything by myself. But when I start making money, the first thing I'm going to do is invest in people to help. But I haven't really thought about who that would be yet. So for me, it's just doing the actual work at the moment. That's the main thing. And everything else, I just sneak in a little bit here and there when I get time.
Maybe there's people on here that can, you know, on Noble Goldman that can inspire or help too.
Yeah, I know that with Martin's focus for your desired success, and with what we're doing, creating all the background information for people, which will actually become the first step for people to get into Noble Goldman through any of us. That he's focusing on a lot of different skills that we all need, including, for me, it was adding some accounting content. And I know Lisa's putting a lot of mindset stuff in. So yeah, it's going to be a really great place to access more of the skills that you need to be a coach, amongst other things, or multi-level businesses, whatever you're trying to do. Coralie, what about you? You've had a few excursions into sole practitioner businesses, haven't you, with your sewing? And
yeah, and I'm still sort of working on how I'm going to do it and what I want to do in it. Yeah.
Is this for the sewing or?
Yes, for that, but also just learning about Noble Goldman and getting people into that. That's all quite a big learning curve for me too. Yeah.
I actually think it's really good practice for everyone to, not everyone, but for me, it's good practice to actually talk to people, just even within people that, you know, even within this kind of group, to practice talking about it, to kind of identify for yourself how you want to actually introduce it to people and get clear on your message. Yeah. And for me personally, I'm finding marketing is definitely not my strength, and I have a lot more success just actually touching base and talking to people rather than, you know, the social media and that kind of stuff. One-on-one conversations work better for me.
Yeah. And how do you get there?
You've got to just open the conversation up. I mean, even with people that I don't know on Facebook, but I've kind of, you know, just made friends with them or whatever. It's about understanding who they are and getting to know them and asking them questions about themselves, and then finding out if there's something that you can help them with, basically. And I guess I've had a bit of practice with that with my network marketing business as well. So
yeah.
So yeah, it's not about, and Russ's untraining is brilliant for that as well within Noble Goldman.
Yes, actually I talked to Russ yesterday and that really helped. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a whole different way of talking to people, which just makes so much more sense because it all becomes so much more human.
Yeah.
A much nicer experience.
Yeah.
Jan, you are a great team player. I know. So what do you know your strengths are, And what do you want help with? You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, I do like people. I do like talking to people. But while I'm listening to everybody, I think I am stuck in the poverty mindset. I need to do everything myself. But I've taken on, and being in that poverty mindset, I am working for a local government, recording stories. So they keep giving me more, but they take a long time. So that takes a long time out of my day. And I'm also volunteering at the Historical Society. So I'm not, I need to refocus for myself. And I've been reading your little things that about a goal without a plan is just a wish. So I think I need to do a lot of work on what you guys are talking about. So I'm more in to the network marketing and not the coaching. But listening to you guys, you are getting a lot out of your coaching study. So I don't know. You've all made me think deeply today.
Well, a lot of these ladies are doing the 30-day quest as well, and I'm going to be running that again for a few people who haven't actually managed to get on board with the actual program at this stage. But we're running it again in September, so I'd love to see you come and join that, Jan, and yeah, we'll do it again. And this is my third time doing it, and I'm still getting more and more and more out of it. And especially running one is a whole new way of learning. The best way to learn is to teach.
Yes.
Carly, can you talk at the moment? Or you just got it on the background?
Yeah, I can talk.
So who do you think you need on your team, Carly?
I need marketers, networkers, people that are technically whiz on the computer stuff. I'd love a mentor or a coach. Everyone I want.
Even coaches need coaches, so yes.
I want everyone so I can just do my spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable request. Yeah.
And I'd love someone to help me coach me how to run, put a course together with what I do, because that's a bit tricky, what I do.
Mm-hmm. So Nancy, how many people do you have that you are collaborating with this project of yours?
It's myself and 2 other women.
Right.
So we have and we're all directors. So we have a director of improv, and I'm the director of course creation. And then Carolyn is director of media and communications. So she does all our social media. She likes to work with video and film and photos and yeah. And so it's kind of a glaring omission when you think about it. Carolyn and I have taken up to, we're sort of collaborating on the sales aspect, but boy, are we both soft sells. Like you said, I've been listening in on different podcasts and stuff, and there are definitely people who love sales.
Yeah.
I think sometimes in the personal growth arena, we can almost assume maybe that nobody likes sales, because a lot of times that's what we're sort of observing in ourselves, but there are people. And so I just, before I got on the call, I was just like writing up a little something about, you know, if I were to do, if I were to not advertise so much, but on LinkedIn to just put out there, you know, someone who's passionate about sales and also passionate about what it is that we are about. And, you know, there's not a whole lot to lose by doing that. You know, we certainly wouldn't agree to collaborate if it didn't feel like the right fit. But it's also, there's also that part where I guess like right now doing that on LinkedIn feels like, why not? If you had asked me that a year ago, I probably would have been like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, that feels so big or something, but it's just like, I've got a company just like anybody else does, you know, so why not? And find those people that are passionate, that are ready to, you know, go to bat for what you have to offer. I can't help but believe that those people are out there waiting for the opportunity. So, yeah. This has been a real gift, you guys, because I was just like, I've kind of been at a stalemate today and just kind of navigating this very subject.
Awesome.
And yeah, and I was just like, make yourself a cup of iced coffee and get on that call. And this is what I arrived to. So thank you.
So hands up who feels they need help with marketing. I know I do. And isn't that interesting that that is our combined weak point? So we need to step out and talk to the marketers. And talking about LinkedIn, Nancy, is really funny because I've kind of been put off LinkedIn over the past maybe year or so because all I get is marketing people. So maybe it's time to actually pay attention to the message that these people actually have something to offer me. They're not just selling to me,
Oh,
they are
people that
offering me
want
something.
to market.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think you bring up an interesting distinction too between marketing and sales, right? Because the sort of online marketing, there's the whole kind of strategy and ads and things like that. And then there's sales, like, you know, somebody that's willing to create, you know, relationships and be wide open about what we have to offer. You know, so there's that distinction too, because I think, I don't know about you guys, but it's kind of easy to hide behind marketing and just go like, well, we've got our social media channels on, they're active and they're great and they're, you know, and then you just kind of go like, okay, you know, any day now something's gonna pop up, you know what I mean? And so I think that it's that S word. Sales is a big thing, and having collaborators who are willing to do just that.
So let's all put some intentions
I
out
think
there.
it's also, can I just say, I think it's the philosophy behind the sales again too. It gets back to that consciousness of just about selling something and making money rather than building relationships. And you see, I think this is what holds us back. I mean, for me particularly, I'm a really good salesperson. In fact, so much so that I overdid it and gave people avalanches, but it's actually seeing the need for the other person, and then the sale is just non-effort, isn't it? But sales for sales sake with nothing behind it is, to me, very soulless. And you know, I've always had a bit of trouble, and even when I was a potter, when I made my own stuff, I think selling your own stuff was even harder because, you know, every time somebody turned their nose up at it, I nearly went and cried, you know.
Totally.
So,
Julie,
you know,
I hear what you're saying. And that has been a big block for me.
Yeah.
Because my offerings are usually something that are really close to my heart.
Yeah.
And it really creates all kinds of obstacles potentially you
Yes,
know?
well,
And
we're
so I think that's
attached, aren't we? We're
another
very
thing.
attached to
Right,
whatever
right.
we're doing. So, and that really is all about our own ego, really, at the end of the day, because it's, are we worried about what the person over there is wanting, you know?
True. And at the same time, though, I think, yeah, I agree with you. But let's see, I lost my train of thought there. It can be about our own egos, but it also can just be about like just not, some people just have that natural instinct to sell. The natural, like, hey, you know, this is great. Oh my God, this is going to be perfect for you. You know, that kind of a thing, that just whatever it is, because that doesn't come naturally to me. I remember I used to work at a clothing store as, you know, late teen. And it was like, people would ask me like, you know, should I get this? And I was always like, I don't know, that's up to you. It's like, I don't have that natural instinct to tell someone like, you need to get this. And so I think, yes, the ego does come in and the heart comes in, but I do think there is a personality type and a natural inclination for some folks to want to encourage people.
Kind of like shyness, I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
attachment. It's attachment to outcomes, the problem, you know.
Yeah.
And those that can sell things easily don't have that attachment to the outcome. I'm sure they don't.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like we actually need some help valuing what we're doing. Someone outside of us to go, this is how much you should sell it for. And once you've got that price, then you can just say, this is how much it is. And then there is no attachment, because it's not just this, you're not just selling a piece of you. Someone has actually gone, this is valuable and this is how much you should be charging for it. And then you can just go, here's the price.
Yeah. I mean, in our instance, we actually have publicized, everything. Our site is so beautifully set up to be like, it's really simple, very easy to follow, has all the prices. It really is just like, I have been self-employed my entire life after the point I worked in the department store I just talked about. So I want to bring this program to women in the workplace, because that's where we can reach massive amounts of women and create change. You know, trying to sell programs to one woman at a time, you know, when oftentimes women don't want to spend money on themselves or whatever, all kinds of things. But it's just, for me, I don't have the network either. And I mean, that's what I'm trying to cultivate now, because I am not a corporate person. I'm not, you know, we're focusing on the mining industry and construction, you know, so it's kind of like, from a sales perspective, there's a huge learning curve there, because you want to enter, like for me, I better enter with humility. I'm not going to claim to know, you know, about the industry itself. And so I think there's a lot of different components that come in, and I think it varies with what it is you're selling. But I do believe you're right, Julie, that it does require that non-attachment. And then the willingness to just keep on going and keep on going.
Yeah, and not be so hard on yourself that you have to know everything.
Exactly.
You know, you have to know about that, but actually you don't, because it doesn't matter what industry you're in. The message you're putting across is actually not about the industry. It's about looking after the woman, isn't it, themselves within that industry.
It is, but it helps for sales if there were somebody out there who actually has had a lot of experience in these industries. It could be really helpful. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah,
you should speak to Lisa. Lisa's in the mining industry.
Lisa.
I've been in the mining industry for 20 years.
Oh my goodness. And what type of work do you do in the mining industry?
I do earth moving. I do like operating the auxiliary equipment, driving the trucks, and the last couple of years I've been running autonomous trucks, driverless trucks.
Fantastic.
And
That's wonderful. And so just out of curiosity, so now you're a coach as well?
Yeah, I actually did my coaching training with Gary for the first time about 7 years ago, I think. And so I've always wanted to do that. So I want to kind of get out of mining so I can do coaching full time.
So you want to make that transition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's what's really kind of funny, though. I think anytime you bring like a transformational methodology to a bunch of women, there's always the potential that they might realize that they want to do something different.
Yeah.
Like,
it's been handy for the work that I do in mining because I do a lot of training. And
yeah, and I bet you a
having
lot
the coaching
of people,
skills, yeah, that really helps.
you've benefited and people around you have benefited, no doubt.
Mm.
Yeah, I think I've just kind of missed you in training, Lisa, because I've been working with Gary for about probably 11 years now. And for some reason we haven't even, I don't think we've ever been in a class room together. It's just bizarre.
No.
But yeah, I've been using the coaching in my accounting business, and I've never wanted to call it coaching. So it's just been conversations that I've had with clients, and you know, they'll go away and go, oh yeah, and they've had a whole new realization, a whole shift in their decision-making process. But I've never acknowledged that it was coaching, really, and they haven't acknowledged it either. They just thought they were talking to their accountant. Which is not.
And maybe you're better to keep the word coaching out of it because it's the key.
And I have, but it's not acknowledging what I'm actually providing to them as well.
Yeah.
And so people come
advisory.
Realizing.
Advisory.
Yeah. Coaching is, I've had a coach define coaching separately to like consulting or advising, because when you're consulting, you're actually being paid to help them make a decision, to provide the information for them to make a different decision. Whereas with coaching, you're just guiding them and they're going to make their own decision. It's not about spoon feeding them the answer.
I think probably all those aspects they sort of cross over.
Yeah. But this particular coach, he said you've got to be really careful to make sure that when you're coaching, you are just coaching, because if you do go providing answers for them, it's a bit of a minefield. So if they're paying you to be a coach, then coach, don't consult, don't give the advice out. But then if they want you as a consulting, then it's identify that as a different area.
Mm.
Have you heard that, Stan?
Counting with straight coaching, but you use the same principles. Because then they might be looking for solutions they don't have. You'd be now part of their team. But they also might need just straight coaching where you're not giving them the answers and letting them work stuff out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've often had conversations and not really identified to the client that I'm coaching, but they will have a conversation and I've hardly said anything. I've just guided the conversation a little bit and they've come away with a completely different perspective, and that's coaching. Yeah. So, yeah. Yes. And I actually wrote an article for Your Desired Success, which was talking all about this, saying that, yeah, we're all coaches and we're all helping each other. And that's the power of the mastermind, that we can all
Was that a while ago? Or
no,
was that a late?
This one was just published last week.
Oh, I haven't read it yet. Okay.
Can't
do everything. Can't do everything.
No, you can't. No. And I haven't really published myself that one. So talking about marketing. Being a little bit quiet on that front. And really, actually, Julie, something occurred to me as you were talking about teaching and the boundaries and the labels that people put on things. And actually, it was in my kind of blog as well, is that because I moved around and went to so many different schools, it was interesting that I could have a different label in different schools depending on whatever they saw or whatever the kids were on about, whatever the school I was at. But specifically, I remember in one school that I was put into a class for slow learning in maths. And yet,
and you're an accountant.
And yet in high school, I won an award for physics. So, Just the different schools and the
Yeah,
way how-
totally two different things, man.
well, physics is a lot of
You know, schools
mathematics.
are notorious for wrong judgments.
Yeah, yeah. And it just
Me,
reminded me of,
when I was at high school, oh, sorry.
no, you go.
It just reminded me of a story. When I was at high school, I had a maths teacher that I didn't gel with. I had respect for him, but I was kind of scared of him. He used to yell a lot, and I would have avoided him like the plague if I could have. And he put me there were 3 levels we could have gone into next year, and he recommended I go into the low one for people who are no good at maths. Then he went on long service leave, and then we got a teacher who I really got along well with, and he put me in the top class. And then my normal teacher came back, and I was just no good again.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that that's my whole, you know, I had the same stuff at school all the way through, and you know, I never thought I was any good at anything. And you know, and it's crippling. It's absolutely crippling.
It is.
And you know, you wear that for the rest of your life, well, until you come to Noble Goldman, and then you can get rid of it. You know, you can
Shed the layers.
turn it into love bubbles or something, you know.
Yeah, and I love how we can all just see in others what they may not be able to see them in themselves, and actually maybe just point them out and lift them up a little bit. And I'd love for us all to just keep doing that, even not just in Noble Goldman, but for all our friends and family and whoever we deal with.
I'd just like to say, Lisa, I think you have the most beautiful countenance of calm, sweet understanding. I think you'll make a perfect coach, or whatever you're planning to do.
Oh,
Because
thank you, Jill.
the warmth diffuses from you.
Oh, thank
I
you.
tried to imagine you driving trucks, but there you are. You see?
Well, I don't think
Better
I was
not
meant
put
to
a
be
label
there.
on truck drivers, huh?
I was on a mastermind with Gary in Hawaii one year, and we went to see a kahuna who told me that I often get confused as to why I'm in mining when I love Mother Earth so much. And that was kind of in the back of my head, but I'd never articulated that to anyone, and I was surprised that she said that. And she told me that my job is not to really operate the machines, but it's to spread the love amongst the crew of the people who would not get that any other way, because we're out in the middle of nowhere, and that was my job.
Yeah,
And I
my
got
son,
goosebumps because it made sense to me.
my son moved to Perth for a few years back, and he did all the long haul, you know, what do you call them, road trains, and he just hated it.
Most
It
people
was so
do.
lonely and soulless, and yeah,
It is soulless.
good money, not really
Yeah,
for the sacrifice of it. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Nancy, do they have that kind of work in the US where, you know, so Lisa's doing FIFO work for fly in, fly out, so she'd be away for 2 weeks at a time and 1 week back, and yeah.
No, we
No?
don't have that kind of FIFO work, no. But mining, you know, I'm learning, is very widespread, and it's pretty big business here too. Nothing like Australia, I don't believe. And it's just the mining, you know, it was amazing how I just ended up having such community in Australia. And then Carolyn's husband works for Rio Tinto. And so I think it was just sort of a natural extension of our project to seek, you know, to sort of go in that direction. But yeah, there's so I've been exploring and learning about what's going on here stateside, and well, it's not run in quite the same way, I believe, in terms of the fly in, fly out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty kind of challenging lifestyle, wouldn't you say, Lisa? So you've probably got a ready to go market there of all the people who have struggled emotionally with that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, and I know of men who are working with men within the field, and so I mean the mining industry is aiming to have 50% women employees. So it's part of the vision there. And and somebody had, my brother actually was talking about how our program could potentially be used not only for retention, but for acquisition, you know, sort of like laying a cultural foundation for new hires, or maybe folks that are considering coming aboard, you know, to sort of set the tone for the employment relationship, which I thought was really interesting. But honestly, that kind of put me a little bit of overload again, because then it became like this whole new area of sales that that felt heavy for me. And so, but I think, yeah, all the more reason to, you know, somebody that loves sales strategy, that loves to help come up with that strategy, helps to, you know, and then like you said, Veronica, when you have, because it's kind of been this project in a sense has been my baby, the ability for me to let go of control of, you know, such things for the betterment of all, as long as it has to feel right, you know, I think of that, but yeah, it does require that for sure.
I've even had that trouble in my accounting business, so I've kept it quite small, because at one stage I did grow and I had all the personality profiling done, but the guy who helped me is actually Gary's partner here in Australia, and I didn't get the message that he was telling me about one person who was like, she's too much like you, this isn't going to work. I didn't get that message. It was just a bit too subtle for me to pick that up. So I continued on, and I was kind of a little bit wary, but at the same time, not enough. And she ended up, because she wasn't in the role that really suited her, she ended up almost kind of torpedoing my business. And I had to downsize, and I haven't been going to do anything with the accounting to grow since then. I've been very much in control. I've got one admin person who helps me with, and she's not really an admin person, she's the office manager really. So she's taken on a lot more than she initially thought she was going to do, but she's loving it, so that's important as well. Yeah, but it's so important to get the right people in the right positions. And Nancy, you might be interested in what Gary's doing with, he does a profiling for corporations, and from that he can work out who's in what position and how to help them. And beyond that, he can also identify what traumas they've had just from the profiling, and help those people, to help the employees through those traumas and help them become better employees. It's a really powerful profiling process. So yeah. So
that sounds incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. The trauma aspect is that's just huge, right? Just the shadows that we're all bringing into our space, so they can kind of be identified and worked with. Wow. That's really amazing and wonderful to know.
Yeah. It's
very, very useful. The use of language again comes up, doesn't it? And how important it is to create rapport and to speak in a language that activates and enhances whatever you're trying to communicate. You know, language is so everything, isn't it? I just listened to one of these. I think I posted it in our group the other night. This woman that was Tony Robbins's right-hand lady, her name's Nurka. Anyway, she's got some brilliant presentations on the use of language, and you know, I was also a big fan of, I mean, he's just, nobody knows about him hardly anymore, you know, but he invented something called clean language, where you use the people's language that they're using, because they all have their own story, you know, and their own metaphor. And if you really want to you let them tell their story and not make your story part of their concept. So his name was David Groves, by the way, and very, very brilliant man with language. But, you know, even in industry and everything, but with stress particularly, post-traumatic stress and things like that, he was totally effective.
Yeah, it's
because we don't solve the
much
problem, the person themselves does.
yeah, absolutely, and so much can be, so much transformation can happen addressing that. And people in post-traumatic stress can come from anything.
Yeah.
It could, you know, we might look at that situation and go, well, that was really minor. What's the big deal? But for that person at that point in their life, it was massive.
Well, he was an NLP person first, I think, and then he took it a bit further. And he was Maori, so he was very much into collective and ancestral consciousness, and that comes through people's lives. They believe that they bring their ancestors with them. So, you know, he was very, very, very clever. It's a shame he died quite young. He was only about 63. Great loss.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, that was but you know, the language is just so important.
Yeah, thanks, Joan. So, is anybody going to take anything away from this lesson and maybe look at what they're doing for this week, or a word that they, or a statement that they'd like to share about moving on from this class to the rest of the week? I think mine's collaboration.
Release.
Release.
Yes, release the old views.
Yes.
Release.
Mine's affirmation. I want to thank all of you for helping to affirm what I think I already knew, you know, what I was really, the inner angst I was feeling was like it was around making that decision of whether to find, you know, this person or to continue on myself. So thank you. Affirmation.
Affirmation. Lisa, are you going with release as well, or you got?
I kind of. I'm just going to say let go of outcomes and attachments.
Coralie?
I don't know if I've got a word, but it was sort of, I suppose, relief to that other people sort of have that same sort of, you know, barriers to getting help from other people.
Sure do. Jan?
Did you say Jan?
Yes.
Jan. Mine's let go.
Go as well.
Another one.
Stan?
I'm gonna need to let go, but mine is switching. Yeah, I was doing a project, and so I was trying to take my intensive workshop and turn it into an online course, and it's not quite in the same thing. And it was like, this is way too much work I needed to cut what I did in the workshop, like the 45 minutes, down into 5-10 minute blocks. And I was just like, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. And then I was kind of like, why don't I just switch? And I've got a bunch of other stuff that I can create online courses with to start with, and come back to this later on. And I'm like, oh, why don't I just do that?
You have a cornucopia of all sorts of things, like a cocktail.
Exactly. And I'm like, why am I trying to force a project on, and you're just going, it's designed one way, but if you're trying to design it a different way, it wasn't quite working. And the chopping it up and then getting it into a format to use for online was like, and I'm like, I just switch and do something else.
You actually probably need to go away and go for a run or a walk or something to.
No, I needed to switch projects. The project itself is good, but it'll take a little bit longer than I thought I would get to. So it's amazing when you take a 45-minute program and think I need to break that into 10-minute segments, and then think I now need to recreate everything that I did in different blocks, and then there's taking slides out and putting slides in and making it work, and you're like, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. But I've got
Make a new one.
I've got stuff for courses all ready to go, and I can just use that and do that and come back again, or just leave it as it is. And
Or make a new one.
we'll upsell people into the next course.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Good on you, Stan.
Good luck with it. Then what
Yeah.
was your switch? Or
Switch.
splice?
No, splicing was what I was doing. Now I'm switching. And
All right,
splice
everyone.
so tasty.
Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Have a great one.
Thanks, B.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Best of luck.
Bye. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.